Honesty. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Day 1111 of What's She Up To Now, documenting my journey as I transition from brick and mortar businesses and corporate America to the online world. And I couldn't resist putting Bernie Sanders in my video. There's a bunch of new filters. I was kind of complaining probably a few weeks ago about how there were no good filters. There was nothing fun, no filters on Facebook. I only had access to like maybe 30, and even with my magnifying glass I was like, nah, I don't like any of them. Well, today I thought, well, if I'm going to talk about honesty, I want to have a filter, and I was going to put on one of those filters that makes you look all glamorous and wrinkle free and beautiful. But then I saw my friend Bernie and I couldn't resist, because it turns out he's sitting right on top of the head of my little Valentine teddy bear that my sister gave me. So I thought it was pretty funny. I'm sure Bernie's becoming very popular with that meme, at least from the inauguration. So what are we talking about? Honesty, and I can't talk about honesty with respect to politics, but honesty today for Supersize Your Business. The idiom that we talked about was honesty is the best policy. And I didn't know this, but it turns out that April 30th is National Honesty Day. So guess what I'm going to be talking about on April 30th? Probably between now and then, but on April 30th for sure. And this is, one of those long-standing expressions that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And we all sort of have to learn this one for ourselves. I don't know about you, but I learned when I was pretty young that there was no point in me fibbing or lying or not telling the truth, because if I ever tried it, I would get caught. I have one of those faces that kind of shows everything. So if I was being deceptive or lying, my parents could see right through it. And lucky for me, my kids have that same face. I mean, you can look at either one of my amazing children, and right on their face, you can see exactly what they're thinking and feeling. Even if, like me, we think we're hiding it. We're not. We're totally. Like if we're shocked or awed or disappointed or sad or happy, you know exactly how we're feeling all the time. We're not very good at masking what we're thinking or how we're feeling about a certain situation. Unlike Bernie. But, the masks actually help with that, because people can only see your eyes. And if they can only see your eyes, most people don't know how to read other people's eyes. We do inherently, but we forget. So, honesty. I learned early on that there was no point fibbing or even stretching the truth, because I always got caught. And so there was no point in it. Now, what is honesty? Honesty, of course, like every other feeling, every other emotion, every other thing, we have a general understanding of it, and we have a general agreement as humans what it means. But how we apply it is, of course, unique and personal to each and every one of us. I've known people, and I was going to give a specific example, and I stopped myself. I know people that think of themselves as very honest, high integrity, truthful, trustworthy people. Yet they cheat on their spouse. They've had or are having affairs. I know people who think they're super honest and awesome and wonderful and trustworthy and have high integrity in business, that have business practices that and systems of business practices that absolutely make my skin crawl. Think of, we're seeing it in the media right now. Think of not bonds. What's the big hullabaloo about? Short selling and the financial markets. And even in real estate and short selling, and most of these lead back to the financial markets or pharmaceutical or some other business that we know is out for their own best interests, but they act as if they're in all of their customers' best interests. So to me, honesty is speaking your own truth and being forthright and having integrity to who you really are and what you really stand for. And again, that's different for each and every one of us. But I guess integrity is matching up your words and your actions and being consistent in who you are, showing up as who you really are. Honesty, a lot of people can't even be honest with themselves, much less other people. And so they believe that they're being truthful and have high integrity, but they have a very different sense of honesty and trustworthiness as other people might. I think of narcissists. Most of us at this point in our lives, at least by the time we're 60, have run into at least one or two people that really fit the description of narcissist or of a-hole, right? Haven't we all met people that we just cover our eyes and we're like, how can you even act that way or think that way if they think they're just being awesome? and we're like shaking our heads thinking, I would never be that way. I would never treat another person that way. So honesty being the best policy, I personally think honesty is always the best policy. If you've ever tried to sugarcoat something or smooth over or quietly deliver bad news to someone without just being pretty much forthright and honest about it, they always get upset because they know that you're not telling them everything or sharing the whole story. Think about if you've ever been in a relationship and you break up with someone and they're saying, oh, it's not you, it's me. You know, I just need some time alone. And then you find out that they've had another girlfriend on the side or boyfriend on the side or whatever happens to be the relationship dynamics for like 6 months or a year or something. And you're like, oh my gosh, why couldn't you just tell me I'm not happy, I want to move on, I want to see other people? But instead they go find the other person and then they dump you. I don't know if that's happened to anyone else. Me, yes. Anybody else? Anybody? Bueller. So to me, that doesn't say anything about me. It says, or you, it says about the other person's level of integrity and honesty and truth and trustworthiness, etc. So we each get to decide. We each get to pick how honest are we going to be? How open are we going to be? How true and consistent to who we really are on the inside? How much of that are we going to show the world? Because for some people, I didn't used to always just hang out and be who I am. For a lot of years, like everybody else, I didn't know I had that as an option. I thought I had to behave in certain ways or should act in certain ways, or tried to be a good daughter, tried to be a good sister, tried to be a good mom, tried to be a good wife. And of course, in that definition of good, it's different for each of us and every one of us. I thought I was being a great wife and a great sister. I thought I was being a good mom, or at least I thought I was doing the best I could given what I knew at the time. We always think we are, right? Our beliefs and how we're perceiving ourselves isn't always 100% match, or how others perceive us isn't 100% match. And the truth is, again, with truth and honesty, is it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of us. The most important thing is, what do we think of ourselves? Are we living in a way that feels right and good to us? And if we are, it might not seem like honesty to other people, but it's being honest and living and showing up as who we really are to ourselves, and that's the most important thing. So that was a fun one. That was actually a fun idiom, and I'm excited to now have a topic for April 30th as National Honesty Day. I'm going to have to write that down in my planner so I remember that I want to do that. Get Up and Go Challenge today was day 12 of our 30 plus day challenge, and we were talking about, and I was going through the SOAP framework. I like to go through the SOAP framework 3 times for 3 of the categories. Remember, the main areas and categories of our life are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, and contribution. And I like to go through at least 3 of these, really breaking the framework down and doing a day on each letter, each stage of the framework, SOAP. And today was S. And I had to pick one of these areas because I didn't really get much feedback or input on what area people wanted to work on. So I did something different, and I started with relationships. I think most of the time I start with physical, because to me, in my personal experience, maybe different from everybody else's, which is why I asked for people's input, I know that if my physical well-being isn't taken care of, and if physically I'm not taking care of myself, nothing else matters, because I'm going to die. How do I know? Well, because I've been there, done that, and I don't want to die, so I need to take care of my physical well-being. So generally I start the challenge with that. But for this one, I just wanted to start somewhere different, and I thought, well, relationships is a great place to start, because just like our health and our physical well-being, and if we're not there physically and energetically, relationships, that touches on every aspect of our life. Well, so do relationships. Relationships interact with and touch on every area and aspect of our life. And so I thought, let's start with something new and let's go ahead and do that. So I talked about the imaginary friend exercise, my imaginary friend tool. And I love that tool. I didn't realize I'd forgotten about it and hadn't used it for years. And I started using it again. And it's amazing how powerful it is to just have someone else to bounce ideas off of. Well, it's an imaginary friend, so who are you really bouncing ideas off? Yourself. But you're taking out that personal judgment or negative filter and voice, and you're being more open and honesty again, with your imaginary friends. So people might think I'm crazy. That is an extremely powerful exercise, and I will continue to use it. And one of my heroes, several of my heroes, I found out have had imaginary friends, and so I'm all in on my imaginary friend. You could talk to Bernie. Bernie could be your imaginary friend. You could get a little picture of him and post, and you could have a little conversation with Bernie Sanders. I think that's one of the best things that came out of the presidential inauguration. It's been so fun and so positive for people. Now, maybe Bernie doesn't think it's so positive, but I think he does, because I think he sold T-shirts. I think he printed up and sold T-shirts about it, which is really entrepreneurial, and I love that positive spin and entrepreneurial spirit. So that was our Get Up and Go challenge today. So today we'll talk about the story. What's the story? What's the situation? You have to be really honest about where you are now and then where you want to be. And who better to talk about that with than an imaginary friend? Or journal it out or write it out. There's all different ways and tools of doing it, but today's tool was imaginary friend. So doing one thing every day that centers you, our 365-day challenge this year, one thing every day that centers you, was about the most powerful weapon on earth being a human soul on fire. A human soul that's impassioned and emblazoned. And I haven't done mine today. I haven't done mine yet. Blank, haven't done it. So I can't really speak a whole lot more about that, except for it says, the most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire, meaning when we're impassioned and excited about something. I think we've kind of seen a lot of that in the last year or so with politics and rioting and all kinds of craziness. People don't go out and riot unless they're fired up or impassioned about something. People don't go out and we don't take action or do anything unless we're inspired to do so. So we want to make sure that we're inspired to do things that make our world a better place, not a worse place. Don't even get me started on all the nonsense that's gone on in the past year in this country that's been unchecked, and that what's going on now is utterly and completely out of control and ridiculous. That's all I'm going to say about that. Sound like I can't remember his name, the movie guy sitting on the bench, fish. Anyway, enough of that. So that's what I'm working on today. I've got the rest of a book to read as a book review. I promised one of my favorite people and authors in the world that I would review her book by tomorrow, and I think I'm about halfway through, but she's got exercises and activities, so I want to at least touch base and do a couple of those before. She's a hypnotist. Before I give an honest review, I'm going to give her an honest review based on my experience of the book, and so far it's been awesome. It's really good. She shares a lot about her personal experiences, and then she gives actually hypnosis scripts that you can go along to eliminate different aspects and areas of your life that you might be challenged with, which actually all has to do with relationships. So I thought it was a perfect fit, since I'm already doing something with respect to relationships, and it's Valentine's Day for this particular run through the Get Up and Go challenge. That's it. I've got a couple other people's challenges I need to do some catching up on, and some places to go and people to see. Actually, I don't have any places to go. It's like 11 below or something here where I live, and the roads are glare ice. My son just called to warn me that the roads are glare ice. So not that I'm going anywhere anyway. I'm definitely not going to go out for a walk today, not 11 below. Have an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, if you got a question, if you're challenged with something technological or online or offline or with your business or with your life, and you don't have anybody to ask, and you haven't had a chat with your imaginary friend, just put it in the comments below. Ask, and if I don't know the answer, I will help you get set up with somebody that does. Have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.